Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Born Political. I know I always say that I'm really excited, but I think you're going to be excited about tonight's show. You see these people around town all the time, they're part of our police department, but this is a very special officer that we're going to interview tonight. She's the handler for this therapy dog, and we're going to get into that. But I want to welcome to our show Officer Heather McClelland and Officer Chase.
All right.
Welcome to the
Thanks for
show.
having us. Yeah, this is awesome.
It's awesome. Thank you for everything you do. And so Born Political, we talked off air real quickly. It's really about getting to know the people in our community, who they are. And I think there's a lot of interest in who you are. Of course, we're going to get to the dog because there's probably more interest.
Yep, that's right.
That's surpassing the show host yourself because everyone loves the dog.
Yeah, it's
but who are you? Where were you born? I think, a lot of times, we don't really know where people came from, and I think it's good to know.
Yeah.
Are you local?
No, I'm actually an Army brat. So
Me too.
Are you?
Born in Germany.
I was born in Jersey. I thought you were going to say Jersey.
Oh, close. Almost the same space.
Different exit, though,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I'm sure.
So I was born in Fort Dix, New Jersey, and moved around the country. My dad was stationed overseas in Panama for a couple years. He was stationed at West Point and taught constitutional law. So he was a judge advocate. My mom was a teacher. So we moved all over the place. Wow. I loved it when I was little.
You did?
I loved it. Absolutely loved it. When I got to be a teenager, that's when I started feeling the effects of like not having that kind of, that home base.
Yeah.
But, I got to do a lot of things.
Where is home base?
Now, it's in Connecticut.
No, but like your father's family, your mother's family?
So my dad was born in Argentina, but his family was out in Seattle. The majority of them out in Seattle.
Wow.
And my mom was born and raised in Rainham, Mass. So
Wow.
yeah, they met out here on the East Coast.
You know what's interesting to me is, I T-ball coach this year.
Yeah.
And I think my first pass through T-ball, Dalcom and the Navy had their own league.
Yep.
Now we're all combined. And we lost 2 kids by the first game that got new papers.
Yeah.
One to Hawaii, one. And the impact of even our kids losing someone.
Yeah.
And, to me, it reminded me of the sacrifice that they make. And you basically did the same thing.
Yeah.
With a different outlook of how cool it was.
Right.
Which,
right.
And everyone's different.
Yeah.
But I'm sure your mother probably wasn't super happy about looking for a new doctor every time.
Yeah. Looking for a new school to teach at. So she wasn't able to get tenure anywhere because every 4 years at the maximum we would go and find a new spot.
And they have tried to change some laws to allow military personnel that are teachers, spouses that are teachers to kind of go with less less certificates in certain areas. So so what school where did you go to school mostly? Was there a town, or was it just everywhere?
I bounced all around. I ended up asking if I could go to a school in New Hampshire called Kimball Union, which is a boarding school, so that I could have one spot to stay in. And it was an interesting kind of start to something with the sport of lacrosse. So when I got to KUA, I found out about lacrosse. I ended up going to college and playing at Lafayette for their Division I program.
So you didn't play as a kid, or you
No, I played in high school. Because it's a new sport, there's not, at the time, I'm a little older, so at the time it was a newer sport.
Yeah.
I'd never seen it before. I just played soccer year round. And
so they're very similar. I played soccer too.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say very similar, but
the field vision and like the idea of game,
a lot of the rules.
Game sense, so that brought me to college, and I had a great time playing in college. So much so that I decided I wanted to coach afterwards.
Awesome.
And so my first coaching opportunity was at Wesleyan University up here in Middletown, and so that's what brought me to Connecticut, and kind of the rest is history. My last coaching gig was at Conn College for 6 years, and I was just ready to try something new, and I decided. And
I think lacrosse kind of jumped on the scene, like you said.
Yeah.
When I was in school, there wasn't a lacrosse team. I don't think. I graduated in '89.
Yeah.
I can't remember if there was one or not. But when it jumped on the scene, the growth of women's sports is enormous.
Yeah.
I remember when my niece, her mother had passed away, and she came in to move with us. And she said, I never played basketball, and I always wanted to.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'll just bring you up the hill. You'll play for Fitch.
Yeah.
Because I remember, the girls' team was so-so, and I'm sure you'll be able to play. You'll probably star. I'm watching her throw these layups. I go, she's putting the ball in the hoop. My wife said, what do you think I said, she seems pretty good.
Yeah.
I didn't know or understand how much women's sports and girls sports had come.
Yeah.
Because when she went up there for tryouts, I think that girl seemed to beat my team. I mean,
yeah.
it's just, it's a big difference now.
It's great. It's great.
But it's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, just turn on the TV right now and look at the FIFA, World Cup and the women's the show of support that they have up there.
So you got to go to, so did you go to all through high school through that boarding school? Did you go 4 years to a boarding school?
I went 3 years. I went
3
sophomore, junior, senior year. Yep. And ended up getting recruited for lacrosse to go to Lafayette and,
And you have brothers and sisters, or you?
I do. My older brother is a paralegal out in Davis, California, with his wife. My sister is she works in she does a lot of different things, but she works at the University of Virginia, which is her alma mater, and she's got her family down there.
So in Army traveling fashion, you
we
guys
are painting the corners of the globe. My parents are in Florida, shockingly.
Yeah, right. What an odd place for people to retire.
I know, it's weird. It's weird. But we decided we wanted to get as far away from each other, so when we got together, it was really special.
Well, that's awesome. And then anyone close here? You guys?
Yeah, I mean, my wife's family is local to Essex, so
that's a local.
That's kind of our
tie.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we've kind of created our nucleus and stuff. So.
And then what got you like when you were young? Were you thinking of law enforcement as a career?
No, not even close.
Nothing like that.
No,
huh?
no.
Not the opposite, right? Not like bank robber.
No, but I was a bit of a wild child. I'll say that. No, I actually, so in between the schools that I coached, I was at the University of New Haven for a year, and they have a criminal justice program. And so I ended up coaching a lot of CJ majors.
Yep.
And one of them, or a couple of them, went on to be state troopers. And so when I was kind of grappling with, coming to the end of my coaching career and knowing it wasn't the right fit for me, but knowing that I wanted to find something that I could be an impact with,
Yep.
I reached out to a couple of my former players who are at that time like my age, and they said you should try it. It's awesome. It's a great career. They actually told me to go municipal as opposed to state because they thought there were some better opportunities with community type policing. So that was a big draw for me.
Which I would totally agree with that.
Yeah.
If that was your focus, so even before you got into law enforcement, you were kind of picking and deciding based on the community aspect of it.
Absolutely.
That maybe municipal was going to be better. And
in particular, Groton. I chose Groton because of the community. The police department, all the offerings that we have. I knew a little bit about Groton. I went to Bluff Point and would run and bike and stuff like that. And I thought I knew, the whole town, but it really is. There's so much.
There's such a wide that even when you go into our schools, people point out the diversity, economic, racial,
socioeconomic.
It's just really, I went to New London where I think it was maybe more minority leaning. And when you go to Fitch, when you look at a table, it's just, you wouldn't know.
It's awesome.
I mean, and they could come from different countries. And then when you interject the Navy, you have people that are from anywhere. They could be from anywhere. That just descended upon the school as a junior. And hopefully, we can make that fit right for them. And I think this community does a really good job of it.
I agree. Yep. I agree with that.
And mostly because I think the people that stayed, that went through it themselves, want to make sure that when a new community member shows up, that they're not like scratching and clawing looking for who the next best doctor should be. So the networking's gotten, I think, a little bit better maybe than it used to be. But I know it's still a struggle.
But you know what? I think we have a lot of good resources in town.
We do.
I'm so impressed. We spend a lot of time in the schools and seeing the connections that are there with the military liaisons and the counselors and all the different resources that they provide. There's a lot of good stuff.
So a lot of the good stuff we don't get to talk about. That's why I hope when people watch this show that they kind of understand that you can turn on the regular news and listen to everything that bad happened across the country, or you can listen to a show like this where we're talking about the good things that happen in our very own community, things that we can make a difference on. So when you applied, did you apply to the academy, or did you have to apply first to? You found Groton, and was that the first application you put in?
So what the process is a little broad at first. So you take the exam through the Law Enforcement Council, and at the time it was the Groton City Municipal Building is where I went, and it was me and like 200 other people, which at the time was standard. It's a lot different now in
It's,
terms of numbers. But took the exam, identified a couple different municipalities that I was interested in. They contact you for the physical agility test. So you go to each police department, you take their physical agility test, and then if you pass that, you're invited back for an oral panel, which is kind of when you go and you interview.
The tough part.
It's, the firing squad is asking questions and situational stuff. And then after that, the chief will ask you for an interview if you've made it that far. So it was down to 2 spots for me, and I knew Groton was where I really wanted to go.
Who was the chief that when you came?
Mike Crowley.
Oh, Crowley.
Yep.
So you get the job, and you're a rookie.
Yep.
You're learning the streets of Groton because you had your opinion of what Groton was before you got here.
Yep.
And then when you're a police officer, obviously there's a different.
Yeah.
You're in Groton at 2:00 in the morning. You're in Groton at 1 in the afternoon. You're seeing the flow of traffic. You kind of get an idea how the town works. Any surprises, or was it kind of?
I don't know that you can ever really be prepared for being a police officer unless you've maybe done an internship and done a ton of ride-alongs and stuff like that. I think there's stuff that you see that you never even knew existed.
Yeah.
And it kind of, they talk about it as being like this parallel universe.
Yeah.
So if the average person is just kind of going along their daily life and existing up here, there's a parallel universe underneath that's existing that you never see. There's maybe some crime, there's people suffering, there's a lot of different things going on that you don't recognize until you are responding to the calls for these folks and kind of going into their world and seeing what it's all about.
And I think what you probably realized quickly as a police officer, I never was in law enforcement. I was on the opposite side a few times.
Yeah.
Well, I was in trouble as a kid.
No judgment.
Yeah. But we always forget, I think, when a police officer shows up, it's not because they're going to jump out of a cake for your birthday.
Right.
It's because something happened.
Right.
Whether it was a car accident, or you got in an argument with your loved one, or someone, you're making a notification to somebody that someone passed. I mean, I think all the circumstances are usually not good, and we're going to talk about what you do coming up here.
Yeah.
But I think when you first get into that, I think that must be a weighty part of the job where like every moment is intense. Where and of course you have your good times and laughs, and you see the coffee shop owner, and you mentioned the corner store, gas station. That's where you stop, and you talk with your friends and the community members. But in reality, that at any moment that there might be a call where you're going to be showing up and having to explain really bad news to somebody, or try to get in the middle of a bad situation.
You really never know what you're gonna get into, and I think for some people that's the excitement of the job. You no 2 days are ever the same, and no 2 calls are ever the same. But I think that's where kind of the police family really kind of created itself, is that we need each other to be able to lean on and kind of fall back on, who understand that these are some of the things that we go through, and so the bonds that we have with our coworkers is really important. And sometimes you hear that dark humor amongst us, where we have to kind of joke
worker.
about it, right?
We have dark humor too.
Yeah, but you gotta joke about some of the bad stuff you see, because it's easier to digest it sometimes, and you can compartmentalize it. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely tough stuff that we have to see and that we have to do, but there's a lot of good stuff too. I mean, we get to be part of a lot of cool stuff.
We see you everywhere.
Yeah.
So when you got hired, and then a patrol officer what was the transition? So were you a patrol officer, then somehow the canine opportunity came up, or are you the first one to have a therapy dog in our department? Or?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah. We started the program in 2019. So I was on for about 7.5 years, and I was working evening shift, which was I liked that shift. It was a fun shift. It was an exciting shift. And an opportunity came open. So Rich Savino, who's now a detective, used to be the community policing officer for the town, and he did an awesome job. I mean, he was the first guy to start all of the things that I've continued and built upon. But he went on to be a detective, and so this position opened up as a community policing officer. And as part of my interview process, I had done a lot of research on, getting a dog that could assist me in community outreach, officer wellness, and victim support. And I talked to a guy up at UConn, Justin and Tildy, who operate up there at UConn, and he gave me a lot of the tools and tips I needed to start a program for us. And so as part of my interview and part of my pitch to my oral panel at the time, I showed them, this is what I'd like to do with the position. I secured a donated, Puppies Behind Bars donated a dog for us.
Wow.
And so as part of my interview, I said, I want to do all these things, and this is the position that I'd like to create so that we can connect with our community in a different way.
Yeah, and how many other departments have this program? Do you know of?
Now,
I mean, you may not know the exact number, but
I can say in Connecticut, Puppies Behind Bars has 12 dogs now. There's 3 dogs from an organization called Canine Companions for Independence, which is a very similar training process. And then there's a lot of other dogs that are from different types of training organizations that have been donated, or some places will get a puppy and raise the puppy, like East Lyme just got a puppy that they're training at a facility. So there's a lot of different programs, but the ones that we work with, we have a kind of a tight-knit group that works together, and we kind of have a system where we can deploy ourselves to different critical incidents and stuff like that. There's 15 of us that work together in our group.
And we talked about earlier about you showing up and either having to give bad news or there's a car accident, you come up on the scene and there's maybe a kid that's crying. It's a different approach now.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the thought was, that this dog is gonna at least take the attention away from what's happening from the person. And I don't want to call your dog a tool, but in a sense,
she is. I mean, she is. She does a great job of diffusing some really high intensity situations. And I might not be, so I'm now in a community policing special assignment, so I'm not on patrol, taking calls, going to accidents in the moment, but we might show up after the fact. We might show up to an interview with a kid who, has to talk about some things that are pretty tough to talk about, and might not trust talking to an officer, a detective who they don't know. We can bring Chase in, and we actually have a command for this called Tell Me a Story. And the idea is that Chase will sit in the kid's lap, and the kid can tell the story to the dog and not worry about being judged by anybody else that's in the room. So
it truly is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure if you're listening to this and that doesn't really resonate with you, then I'm not sure if you've listened.
Yeah.
Because really, in the end, you when you first came on, we've been working with Community Speaks Out. And, we deal with parents that I'm like, maybe we should give this person a dog and sit on their lap right now, because they're finding out, and again, I think that might be my relation now to being able to kind of understand what a police officer goes through.
Yeah.
Because when a mom or dad calls our group and they think that their child's going to die tomorrow, or they have no control, and which none of us do, and we learn that in our group. Well, we talk about that.
Yeah.
But in the ultimate end, they don't have control of themselves.
Yeah.
And you're trying to teach them back how to breathe again. And I think, if there was a dog in a room, maybe we talked about off air, we have our friend Jeremy, the board member of Community Speaks Out, he brings his rabbit to some of these events that we go to.
I love it.
And what I like best about this program is it's proactive.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you're saying, we don't go to all the on the scene accident. We're not running to the 911 calls, but you can drive around this town right now.
Yeah.
And I would say most children that go to any school or have been to any of the events at our park know who you are.
Absolutely.
And know who Chase is.
I mean, they scream her name.
Oh, yeah.
But they're like, yeah, I know you too.
You're the one that Chase brings to the events.
I drive her around everywhere. That's pretty much my job. Yeah.
So, but you didn't start out with Chase.
Nope.
So we have another.
Your favorite.
I absolutely fell in love with the first dog, and I'm in love here. I mean, I fall in love. I don't want to sound easy, but I fall in love pretty easily. Tammy, no, I'm kidding. But with dogs, there's something about them that they're gravitational. They have their own gravity.
Yeah.
And you're drawn to them.
Yeah.
And with your first dog, McDonald, it was just. Again, I think it had that energy that I liked.
Yeah.
And he was kind of just a cool dog.
He was an awesome dog. Yeah.
And I think just like police.
Yep.
There's different jobs for different people.
Yeah.
Different personalities, and I think McDonald probably wasn't the perfect therapy
comfort,
dog,
yeah.
comfort dog. But
Yeah.
what's the news about McDonald? If you're
Yeah.
out there wondering what happened
The
to
people
McDonald,
wanna know.
The people want to know. All right.
So McDonald, I had McDonald with kind of to start the program. I mean, he was the face of the program as we started, and I credit him for really taking us where we are now. But I had him for about a year. I could tell that he needed something different. One of the things I noticed is that he would. His skin would dandruff a lot, and in a black lab, it's really obvious. And so, if he was around a lot of people and being pet, and I was asking him to do a lot of things with kids, he would do it, and he would do what I asked him to do, but he wasn't loving it.
Yeah.
And so, true to what Puppies Behind Bars preaches, the dog is first. Whatever the dog needs, you make sure the dog is comfortable. You make sure the dog is, doing what they're meant to do. And so we decided that he would probably be better served as a detection dog. I know Tammy reached out to me and was like, can we adopt McDonald? And I was like, if that gets to that point, I'll let you guys know.
Hold on, my wife
You didn't know about this?
No, I did not know about this. Hold on.
She did.
I think my wife was watching tonight. Honey, we said no more dogs.
This was 3 years ago, granted,
Okay,
but
all right.
there may have been.
That would be dog number 3 for us, though.
I know. So
Okay.
he actually got picked up by the Massachusetts State Police, and they tested him and saw him, work once, and they were like, we're going to make him an arson detection dog. So right now he works with the arson unit with the state police in Massachusetts, and from all the feedback I've gotten from his handler, they just want multiples of him. He's doing a great job. He's loving what he's doing. And he sent me a video of him as they were doing the imprint of all the different scents that he was going to have to find, and I could just tell in his body language like that was his job. Yeah. Yep. He was so excited.
And probably not easy for you.
It was awful. It was terrible. Oh, I felt like a terrible human being when I had to give him back, and I knew it was right for him, but it's.
I think
sometimes
the easier thing to do is to not do the right thing.
Just push through, yeah.
And push through and know the dog was maybe it's not like it was a miserable life for the dog.
Right.
But if really something there was better, and I think in the end now you have Chase who I think is hasn't really moved much. Chase, she even when I say her name, she's not like popping up. But I think for what you're trying to do and accomplish, and the tool that you're looking to have, I think that's exactly. If I was going to tell a story, that's the dog I'm probably going to tell a story to.
Right. Yeah. She just did have dinner before we came on, so.
Oh, she did.
She might be having her post.
So did I.
Now.
You mind if I lay down next to Chase? Actually, I've always been jealous because dogs can lay just completely flat like that. Like
I know.
I feel like that
She's
would be
I
feel like that would be cool. Nice cool floor.
Yeah. So when we made the decision back in 2020, and I decided, we were gonna go, give McDonald back to the organization, let them do with him what they thought was appropriate, which turned out to be great. They said, well, we have another dog lined up, and we'll have her to you in about a week. And so there was only a week between when I let McDonald go back and when I picked up Chase, and we had a lot of hard conversations, and the chief was extremely supportive of it, very trusting and helpful in the process. Hi, you woke up. And so we made sure that she was the right fit for it. She was young; she was only 14 months old when I got her, and so we just had her 4th birthday. If you saw the library sign, there was a big gathering there at the library on Friday. So, but she's doing great. She goes to the schools with me.
What's your training?
My training for it?
Yeah, I mean, did you have to go? Did you have to go with the organization?
Yes.
You did.
Yeah. So the organization is called Puppies Behind Bars. They train prison inmates to train dogs to be either service dogs for someone with PTSD, or facility dogs, which is her technical name. And a facility dog is a service dog trained level, but it's not for one person. It's for other people, going into hospitals, going into schools, that kind of stuff. And so what happens is they bring the handlers into the prison, and I actually was trained by the prisoner that at the time trained McDonald.
I mean, that's a whole different layer to me of this whole story.
Yeah.
And I knew that happened. You're saying it behind bars, and I forgot that component where it's actually folks So now, do they get updates on the dogs? They do?
Yep.
So
I've been back to the facility twice, actually, now. So Bedford
Wow.
Hills was a women's facility
Okay.
in New York. And I brought McDonald back about 6 months after so that he could go. They love it there.
Yep.
People always ask me, like, oh, it must have been a terrible environment for them, you know, poor dog stuck in prison. It was like,
the attention you get is probably,
they live the life. Yeah, like
Yep.
around the clock attention. You know,
Yep.
a lot of snacks and kibble. They're very, you know, meticulous about the training, but
Yep.
you know, everything is a kibble reward, and you know, they're working on a lot of important positions that the dogs need to be in, and all that kind of stuff with commands. So I haven't sent her back yet because we just plan our vacations around our dogs now, but welcome.
Oh, so if you go on vacation,
they'll take them back into the prison. Yeah.
Wow.
Actually, Hodges, her half brother who's in Waterford, just spent a week and a half back at Bedford Hills because his handler took a vacation with his wife that they couldn't take him on. So
she has a brother at home also, right?
she does, yeah. No blood relation, but
Well, brother, like
brother from another mother. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, so we have another dog, Petey, at home that you know, just a mutt from the Humane Society, but luckily they work well together, and you know, they're able to coexist.
And that gives her even probably more of, like, she gets emotional support from.
Yeah, she's such a dog's dog. She
dog's dog.
She loves dogs. Yeah, we have a good time. We try to get together with the other dogs in the state a lot because they love it. You know, they love being around each other. It's almost like they know that they're from the same organization.
You think
they
so?
know all the same commands. It's really cool. Yeah.
So, and then how long will, like, I guess we never know, but what's the projected service life for, like, I think they really have it down to the minute.
Yeah.
With the chase dogs and the ones that are.
Yeah, I think that can
that's
be
very structured.
That can be determined by health and medical stuff too.
Yeah.
But it'll really depend on her. I mean, I have 10 years left, so I think probably 10 years is how much longer I've got her for. No, I mean, I think that she'll probably let me know when she's ready to just stay home. But every time I open that garage door, she's jumping in the car. She's ready to go. You know, I think maybe 8, 9 years old, I'd be happy with that.
And what do you think? I mean, obviously, I know, and we can tell how happy you are with the program.
Yeah.
But benefit-wise to the community,
I
mean, there's a lot of things. I've been a bean counter for a long time, budgets and everything else, and it's hard to quantify what a program can mean. But you know, just briefly, what do you think that's meant to the community?
Yeah, it's amazing. I think, you know, I see it in going around to different parts of town, outside of town. I was at McQuaid's this morning grabbing a coffee, and a kid came up and she's like, "Hey, it's Chase." And I was like, "Oh, how do you know Chase?" And, "Oh, we went to her birthday party on Friday. And you come to my school at Mystic River Magnet School."
Yeah,
so
awesome.
For me, that quantifies it. You know,
does.
having those connections with the kids, seeing kids outside of where we typically see them, and have them recognize us and come up to us.
That's
you know.
awesome.
Making that connection as a police officer is just, it's
And I told
gold.
you this was going to be a fast half hour.
I know.
And it is. And we got to talk a lot about Chase. I want to thank you for coming on the show. Especially thank you for everything that you do for the community. You served before without the puppy. And now you're making a big, huge impact on our town, on our community with the new officer Chase here. Thank you. And thank you guys for watching. Again, if you see them around town, beep. Say hi to Chase if you missed the birthday, but you can always do the belated birthday thing on Facebook. We'll see you guys next week. This is Born Political. Have a good night.
All right.